Okie dokie.
So welcome, everyone. This is our second meetup for expanding your consciousness. And thank you for joining us. And I thought today, I just want to remind everyone that as we talk about our experiences, please be open-minded. Even if you belong to this group, sometimes we'll go, well, is that even possible that could happen? But again, I just want to stress to be open-minded. Today, what I want to focus on is looking at the energy field that we're in. And a fascinating book about that is The Field by Lynne McTaggart. And she traveled around the world, actually, and met with a lot of physicists who actually explored or did experiments and research on the field of energy that we're in. And what I wanted to focus on in this talk is our relationship with other people, especially with family members. And at least when I speak, if you have other experiences you want to share, please do that. But in this case, I want to share some of the experiences I had with family members. And in these experiences, it really relates to family members who had passed on. So, and then I think, Kelly, you want to share like a story about past life experiences too. So I'm gonna just go through some of my stories, and then I think, Kelly, you want to share, and then we'll let others share as well. So I'm because I type these out because I want to put them on website, so I'll just get into a few of these experiences. And the first one that came to mind was in December 1988, and I was in Hamilton, Ontario, and I was driving along King Street with my boyfriend. He was actually driving. I'm riding in the car, and it's in the evening, and we're going, and King Street goes west. It's a one-way street going west, and then Main Street is a couple blocks over, and it goes east. And so we're driving to his parents' home in Dundas, which is outside of Hamilton. And as we're driving along, we stop at a light, and we see that on Main Street, through a parking lot, we could see that there was an ambulance and police cars and all that. And we both said to each other, oh, look, there's an accident over there. Okay. So we continue on, and we get to his parents' place, and I'm sitting in the family room with everyone, and I'm sitting in a chair, and all of a sudden I felt pain shooting up my spine, and I actually jumped out of the chair. And my boyfriend's mother said, like, what's wrong? I said, I don't know, I had this shooting pain up my back, right? So a few minutes after that, I had a phone call from my brother-in-law, and he said, just so you know, Patsy, my sister Patsy, was hit by a truck, a pickup truck. And and she died instantly, right? So I think, and then I found out that it was on Main Street, right at that spot that we had seen. So I think there was probably some delay between, when she was killed, and then when there was some sort of energy that passed from her to me. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. And I just want to know, did anyone have any comments or observations on that?
Well, it was just quite a coincidence that you were passing by and saw the accident scene as you were going home. That was kind of a holy wow, moment.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah,
And yeah, and possibly, yeah, that was a big jolt from her, you know, expiration and your sensation,
And
interesting.
I want to say something about the divine flame and doing divine fire breath through your spine up to the top. It completely relates to what you just said, that you
oh,
felt that it shot you right up because
yeah,
it's your sister. It's not
yeah,
like some really good friends, I could say, have had similar experiences where they felt something from someone who died at the, and then, but at the moment, like when it happened, they felt it, not on extended like what you're describing.
yeah,
But the flame and the fire that you carry inside of you is so strong, and then when it goes fleetingly from a shock or a hit, it's like shot up. It's not like dimmed out. Like, I usually think people are going to die slowly and time is coming and then they die. But when it's a shock and a leaving, that's a pretty strong, powerful push. She didn't feel that, but people close to her would feel that. So
yeah,
I'm not surprised that you felt that fiery, like a poker
yeah,
stabbing you,
yeah,
and you have to
yeah,
get, and you're
yeah,
from seated to stand, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So you get up when something is
yeah,
out, get up. So it was like, get up.
yeah,
And then she could pass through and keep going.
yeah, yeah.
But she'll go. Did anyone else in your family feel anything from her?
Um, I I asked people that, and actually, one sister had a few thoughts a couple of days before, and it was this: it must be awful to lose a close family member.
No,
Like
geez.
that was the thought she had. Yeah, yeah. So,
Akbar.
Lion.
Oh,
Lion.
lion,
Hi, Lion. So,
So
lion.
that's interesting though, Diane.
yeah, yeah. And then another thing, and you know, those of us who have lost people, and I've lost both my parents and and other family members. One thing you notice is that you relate certain things to that person. So it could be certain songs, certain movies, and
Mm-hmm.
even food. Just you think of certain people, right, and
Yeah.
certain foods, and so this happened to me in the year 2000, and it was February 2000, and I'd say maybe for about a couple of weeks before this incident, I had like this, all I could think about was salmon sandwiches,
Hmm.
right? Like I could even smell it, right? And I going like, oh, like why salmon sandwiches? I'm not that keen on salmon, right? But it was like, it would just keep going. So then I was out one evening and I was driving my father around, right? We were just out for a drive. And I thought, oh, we'll stop by my sister, Shirley. And just so you know, at that time, I had 5 sisters. And we go in and she's crying. And my niece, her daughter, is crying too. So they take me aside and they said, oh, Joanne has died, and that's my other sister. And I said, well, what happened? And they said, she had a heart attack. And I went, wow, like she was 47, right? But she had a lot of health problems. So after she told me that, I went, wow. Like I said, for weeks, I would have thoughts of salmon sandwich, and Joanne loved salmon sandwiches. She would eat them all the time, right? So anyway, I thought of that and I thought, wow, like, it just shows you the power, like the things you connect to a person, and, just the power of that in the field. So, anyway. Any comments on that one?
No, I think that that's common. I think
Mhm.
just for me, my husband died from cirrhosis of the liver. And if you don't know what that means, it means he drank himself to death. And
Yeah.
he smoked, right? He stopped smoking, he stopped drinking, he went into rehab for like 9 months. I didn't even know who he was. It was great. Everything was fabulous. I just was like, oh, this is going to work out finally. Because I have my daughter, it's like, oh. And then, yeah, my neighbor decided that, hey, you've been dry long enough. Let's have a beer. And, that's like the kiss of death. So he became like ridiculous. It was ridiculous. When he died, he was like 42. So he's
Wow.
terrible age. I mean, so young.
Yeah.
And every time, anytime something's going on, if I smell those cigarettes, I smell that smoke, and it can happen randomly anytime. There it is. And I'll look at my daughter and wait and see if she's going to say something. I don't ask her, do you smell that? I wait. She goes, he's here, right? I went, yep.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah. So whatever that he wanted to bring, what we were talking about, what was happening with us, whatever that communication, that's cigarette smoke. That's him. Always, every time.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they signal, I guess, that they're around, right?
There's
Which
something
gave,
that you got to get, something you're not, open up.
yeah.
You're closing, whatever you're thinking is too closed down, open up. So it's like,
Mm.
makes you expand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Look outside your box. Okay.
And Dave, you had a situation with a buddy, right? That passed away and tapped, right?
Oh, yeah.
Joseph,
Well, there,
yeah.
yeah, that was there that time. I was back in Ontario taking care of my parents, and was I remember it being a cold winter's night, and anyway, I'm asleep in the basement, and kind of had my own suite in their house. It had a little kitchen off of the rec room. Anyway, I'm asleep down there, and I hear this tapping on the basement window, and I went, well, I don't know, that's maybe a can or something kicking around with the wind, but it was definitely a tap, like a rapping like that, if you could hear that. And I ignored it. I went back to sleep, but then it woke me up again. And then I waited and listened, and it was like, definitely somebody's at the window, tapping at the window. And I went, it's 3 a.m. I don't want to get up and find and see anybody outside the window at 3 a.m. I don't want to have to deal with that. So I went back to bed again and tried to go back to sleep. And then it was bang, bang, bang on the window.
Oh,
I
geez.
went, all right, all right, all right. So I opened up the blinds and I look out. Of course, there's nothing there. I went, oh, okay, somebody's trying to get a hold of me. And then a few days later, I found out that my friend Joseph had died that night. And of course, I'm in Ontario. He was out in BC. And I went, oh, yeah, of course. It was, of course, Joseph would want to come and say goodbye before he went off,
Carried on. Yeah.
carried on.
Oh.
Yeah, he was, yeah. In the beginning of it, it was like, it was really kind of scary. I don't know what the heck I'm going to see out there. But then after, I finally said, okay, enough's enough. And then I was okay with it. And then it was, as soon as I knew it was somebody was trying to get a hold of me. And I didn't know it was him until somebody phoned me later. And then I put the two together. And that was the exact time he had exited and just came and so I'd had another experience where a good friend passed on very young. He had committed suicide, and it was depressing, and we were close friends. And anyway, I'd gotten out after a month or so after, and was at a party, and I'm not engaging. I'm kind of in my own thoughts, and anyway, there was a picture on the wall And it was like one of those, you know, how they used to do computer printouts. It would just be a series of letters and they would program it so it looked like a picture. Well, this looked like the Mona Lisa. And I just took an intro, I looked at it and then I looked away and I looked back and my friend Rick's face popped out of that picture. It became 3D. And I went, and he just looks at me with a smile on his face and winks and winks and then goes back in, right? And I went, and I felt so much better after that. I just went, oh, it would be so much like Rick to pull a trick like that, you know? But it was so reassuring because I was really lamenting and feeling bad that he was gone. But then he was like, just, well, I'm not that far away, Dave. I'm right here, you know? And so that was reassuring.
One of my friends said, what do you think happens when you pass over? I said, well, I know what happens based on people I've held their hands while they passed over, helped them cross over. I know that I can't tell you for everyone, but the one thing they all hate is that you stop talking to them, like they don't exist anymore.
Oh,
Don't like it. They're like, I'm here. I'm still here. I'm not in your body, and I don't want to be. But you could talk to me anytime. I'm afraid I'm going to talk to you and you're not going to talk back, or I'm going to talk to you and you're not going to even acknowledge me, even though I'm giving you things to let you know, but you won't talk to me. That's the part, because they have no emotion, but they definitely know whether you're communicative or not. That was always the thing that comes back over and over again, not year after year, but whatever, it's always this one thing. Don't stop talking to me.
Yeah, that's a good thing to remember. I never realized that, but we should be doing that. Yeah.
Casey, go.
So
You're in the dark there, Casey girl.
I don't know. It's like I got my tree light on. It's kind of cool. Anyway, so I think of my dad who passed in '97, and I would talk to him a lot, but he's probably the only one I really talked to who passed, which this is why I thought of this during this whole conversation. But then we adopted the kids, and you saw earlier the few of you, my daughter who's 14, but we were in this house a couple years ago, and then it was just funny because I don't think there's a lot going on in my life, so I hadn't really thought of dad in a while. All of a sudden I'm downstairs at the bottom, daughter's upstairs, and she's like, hey mom, because she knew Grandpa Danny. I had talked about Grandpa Danny, and then she's like, I smell smoke and I smell mint, and I'm like, what? She's like, oh, I'm like, she's like, I think I know who. And I'm like, it was just weird because I didn't talk about like ghosts and all, or not saying presences and stuff, but it was kind of like my dad he was a smoker and he always had Altoids. And if I smell Aqua Blue or Old Spice or cigarette smokes or cherry something, cigars, there's something, something comes up. I'm like, thanks dad. And then, but it just helped me remind me that he was around. But it's cool how that happens and you don't even realize it comes twofold.
Yeah. And it's like they're saying, hey, I'm here. So.
Not difficult to get information from if you just listen, and you have to ask, you have to speak. My husband who died, he used to use chlorets to cover his alcohol breath. So to this day, I can't even stand the smell of that. As soon as I don't like the word. if I go by somebody, they're chewing it, I'm like, oh, I have to get away because I have such a visceral reaction to chlorets. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did we say hello to Lion? I don't know if he's.
Yeah, we did say hello.
His mic is off from what I can see. I don't know if.
Yeah, Lion's muted.
Oh, there he is. Hi, Lion.
Oh, there he is.
Hello, Lion.
Where's your video, Lion? At least pop in.
Hello, there he is. Hi.
Nice to see you guys.
Yeah,
Good to
nice
see
to
you.
see you.
What are you watching?
He's watching him.
No, is he watching him? I thought he's watching television.
No, I just watching you guys.
Yeah, it's reflected many times in that little window there.
Yeah.
Cool effect.
Before we
Oh,
go
it's the
to
window,
Kelly,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, window. It's like, what are you watching? You're watching us? Oh,
yeah.
I don't know how you're doing that, but okay.
Cody, do you
Just
have
comment.
anything you'd like to share?
Oh, maybe later. I just came from the work. I'm tired. I'm prefer to listening, but
Okay.
later maybe something to say.
Okay.
Kelly-
And I'm
Kelly
just
does,
thinking
though, right?
Cody Jones. Does Cody Jones have anything to say?
Not a thing.
Okay.
This,
Sure.
as you, I'm like many people mystified by this, and I want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. So because you've been using the phrase, I'm right here, or I'm here, as
Mhm.
if the person who's passed is now, it's about location. So can the person who's passed, so for example, say my father, he passed some time ago. Let's say he wanted to be with me here in Vancouver. Could he simultaneously be with my sister in Hamilton? Or is it actually physical? Like our body can only be in one place.
There's nothing physical when you die. There's no body, there's no physicality. It's all vibration. Yeah,
Okay,
easily.
so that's what I'm asking then. Can my vision or whatever experience it is, can I have that at the same time as my sister has it, and we're both located in different parts of the country?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So Kelly, I'm just going to ask you to arrange your camera like you did before. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Cal. So you have a dream. You're going to talk about dream you were having. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've always been really sensitive to the spirit world. So when I was like 18, I was like my last year of high school. And the reason I remember that is because I had this assignment and I did it, got it done and stuff. And then that night, I had this dream of this tidal wave, like this tsunami. And it was very, very violent and it was awful. You could feel everything, everything. So I get up the next day and I'm thinking, okay, thank God that was just a dream. That was really horrible. I thought, okay, that's awful. And I thought, I wonder, like I knew about reincarnation and I knew, you know, my friends and I over the years, we had talked about stuff like this and we had really, you know, talked about a lot of spirituality and stuff like that. So I understood. I thought, okay, that's probably a past life thing. I thought, you know, so I get up and it was such a bad dream, like a bad experience that I had trouble listening to water that day. Like I couldn't, I went downstairs and I remember trying to make tea. And I turned on the sink for the water. Oh my God. Oh. And I'm like, okay, just keep calm, Cal. It's just, you're making tea. You're not, you know. So it was fine. And that, you know, went about my day. And then I thought, okay, so went to bed again and had the exact same dream. And I'm thinking, oh, this is crazy. I thought, this is so rough. Like, you know, woke up the next day and I was super tired. I just, you know, and I said to my mom, I said, you know, I said, I've had the same dream 2 nights in a row. I said, this is crazy. And she's like, well, what is it? And I told her. And she said, oh, okay. Well, you probably won't have it again. I thought, no, probably not, you know. So 4 days later, I had the same dream for 5 days. And finally, 4 days after, when I had it, there was a voice that said, this is how you died in your past. And then after that, when I would have the dreams of the tidal wave, it was like there was a protection over me. I was just observing it and not in it. Because I really think that if that hadn't have happened, I would have been killed. Like, it just would have killed me, because it was so bad. It was so horrible. Yeah.
So Kelly, was it a tidal wave or a tsunami?
It was trying to remember. No, it was a tsunami, I believe. Pretty sure. It was years and years ago. I think it was a tsunami. Yes.
Violence.
What's the difference between a tidal wave and a tsunami?
Tsunami will be almost like the waters rise, but the force that they're coming at, it's almost like having a volcano erupting, but it's water instead.
Mm-hmm.
And the force of it, it's a hard, fast force, and it takes everything with it.
Right.
Anything. And it turns up the earth, it turns up,
Yeah.
it pulls building down. A tidal wave is one big, fat, huge water that will come at you, and that's what hits you. And that can, of course, that can kill you as well, but it's cleaner. Tsunami is violent. The things that hit you and you can't get up and you think you are, and it's just a violence. It's violence. It's pissed off earth, what it is. But a tidal wave is not the same. Even though it can do damage, it's not that. So it'll rise up and you can see it coming there. Tsunami just comes up and just all of a sudden it's there. You don't even know where it came from. And it's pulling you. It's very violent. That's the difference.
And,
If you
and
look them
Kelly,
up and look at images, you'll see it, you know. I think
yeah.
the scariest one was the one that happened in Japan when that was that was
Kelly, I
scary.
think you said you got sense you were like on a dock in the previous life, and then you were swept off of it or something. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if it was a tidal wave or a tsunami, but I think it was a tsunami. But I like I said, it's been a long time, and I really don't want to have that happen again.
Yeah, and it was just, like water. Water came at you, pulled you in, and
Yep.
Mm.
And you were afraid of water, like even going to the beach and
Yes.
stuff like that for a long time.
I was terrified of water when I was a kid. I was terrified.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrified. And I remember even as a little girl just being so scared of water. And I got over it from just being around people who swam a lot in pools and stuff.
Yeah.
But even now, I don't like being in the water alone.
Yeah.
Although I can swim, I don't like being in the water alone. Mm-mm.
Yeah, as long as someone's with you, that sort of thing, you're fine, right?
Yeah.
So, and which, I mean, everybody should have someone with them anyway, so.
Yeah, definitely. But especially for me, because I just.
You should, anyway.
Well, it's very interesting, Kelly, that you had this, incredibly vivid experience. And I assume you had like images of it, something quite visual and visceral, right? You could feel it.
Yeah.
And yet you were never cited. You never had any what we would think is a reference of what you could, of memory, some kind of a sense memory of it. So it really, I think it does lead, and like you said, the voice said, this is from your past. It leads credence to the story of reincarnation of a past life.
Yeah. I was definitely cited in my past. So, and even in this life, there's really no other reason for me to be blind other than medical stuff that might have happened. Yeah.
But Kelly, and also, didn't you think that you were in India when that happened? Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
And Kelly was always quite knowledgeable about India. Like, you just seem to like things from India. You seem to understand places there. Yeah, whatever.
It's really interesting because there are different regions in India and different cultures and stuff in India. And I find that I'm closer to people from some and not as close to people from others. I'm a little more, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's and I've always loved curry, and I like, generally speaking, I like eating healthy. So not saying that I'm perfect, I'm not, but um, and a lot of it's kind of interesting because I find even snacks and stuff that I like chips or whatever, things like that. A lot of people from India love those. Sweets are not as popular. Like, they are, but they're not. It's more fried stuff that a lot of
And
Indian
you
people
cook, yeah, food that
like. Yeah. And
very-
I'm like that. I do.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have something they'd like to share?
But I wasn't Indian though. I was European.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
How do you, like, could you see yourself? Like, how would you know that?
I'm trying to remember. Well, I went to a psychic years ago,
Okay.
and I told her, kind of a little bit about it. And she actually corrected me with some of the stuff. She was like, "No, you were European. You were this, So, and it makes sense because, it just, it totally makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Anything else you want to share, Kelly? Because I know you said you want to, you have something to do tomorrow morning. So you were.
I do. I have to, I've got lots of traveling to do tomorrow.
Okay. All right. And I know it takes some time for you. So.
It does.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to go, guys. I feel so bad because I really do want to hear other people's stories. You guys need to just, tell my boss to have me stop working on Thursdays. So but hopefully next week I can stay longer, or maybe next week what we do is have somebody else tell their story first, and then I can. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a great evening.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks,
You too,
Kelly.
Kelly. Nice seeing you again.
Kelly.
You too.
Thanks for sharing.
No worries. No worries.
Now I'm gonna have tsunami dreams. Thanks so much.
Oh,
I kept thinking
please don't
2000.
say that.
You guys
Cody Jones, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, Cody. Cody Code.
Okay, I have to come out to Lion because he and I are buddies from another. So Lion, I've changed my name. That's really me on there.
He
So
just waves. That's
yeah,
okay.
I gotcha.
Okay.
Man, a few words. I was I had a story that I was in a class once, and the person was teaching. It was a class of new age kind of cool stuff, and the teacher was a gifted psychic of the real thing. I know there's lots of psychics out there. She was one of the real ones, and it was so funny because she was walking through the class teaching her thing, and then she just stopped and paused and looked at this woman and said, 1832 in some certain place in Europe, and you were attacked by this and that, and you were killed. And the person burst into tears because what she had seen is a past life death. And then this person was quite witty, and she said, "Oh, no charge," and she just carried on teaching the class while left this person weeping about her
Wow.
past death. So one of the things that happens, according to this lady, is that when we are killed in a dramatic way, it does leave an imprint on something that carries forward. The only thing I can think of in biology is DNA, but I don't know, who knows really what all the unknown things are. So I was wondering if that's what Kelly might have been experiencing there when she relived that dream a couple of times,
Yeah.
that terror of standing on the dock and getting swept away by this violent occurrence.
Yeah.
Yes, so it might be, so this person who taught that class, that was her shtick. She wanted you to remember those violent deaths because she claimed that they still had a terrible imprint on you and you need to be free of that. So she would just try to bring it to the surface by reliving it and then dealing with it now as an adult instead of as a victim. I don't know whether it was a good theory or not, but it sure sounded good at the time. And it was so dramatic when she did that that sort of reading. Very dramatic. I don't have any stories, but I have this hang up on language so that we can talk to each other and learn from each other. So I want to make sure I understand all the terms. So if I seem to be asking stupid questions, they might be stupid, but they're not stupid to me because I really truly don't know. So for example, the concept of that lady talked about earlier about vibration, it's all vibration. So vibration is a physics thing of the physical world. It's something vibrating.
Is it?
Well, that's what I learned in high school. So that's how I know the word vibration. But if it obviously that's not the way you were using it. So I need to know what you mean. And I've seen the books on raising your vibration and all that stuff. And the word vibration just confuses me. So I'm hoping to get unconfused. It's not physics. Okay. So what is it?
Can I talk?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to say to you. Science, which physics is part of now, science today, has proven that even to the smallest identifying parts of an atom, they're never still. Nothing is solid, nothing is still. Everything vibrates in together and it stays there. So if you go deeper and deeper and deeper into a cell, and deeper and deeper and deeper, they can never find the end of it. They keep thinking they've got the end of it, and then they get better microscopes and better, and they can't. They keep going and going, and it never stops vibrating. There's never a standstill moment at all, anywhere in you and anywhere on anything. There's no standstill. It's constantly vibrating. So vibrating really is not stopping. There's no rest. It's constantly moving. It's constantly moving. Yeah, so that's what vibration means. It's constantly moving. There's no setting still.
Yeah, so I do understand that, and I did understand it before I asked the question, because I do understand motion, and motion is physics. Motion is things moving.
But that's what we call it, Cody. It's not necessarily, that's our human word for this thing.
Yeah, and so here we are, we're human beings
Yeah.
trying to talk to each other, and I'm trying to listen, and I want to listen to this. I want your meaning, whatever you're saying, I want to understand it. So in order to do that, we have to agree on the meaning of these things. And that's why I'm asking this, because I agree with everything you've said of what vibration is, but I still don't know when you say that the entities that we're talking about here are vibrating. So that means there's some physical thing vibrating. That's what vibration is, either physical or energetic.
What entities? I don't understand the word entities. So
Entity?
Yeah, how would you define that?
It's when you,
Entity, the word
Yeah.
entity.
when you are communicating with something that is non-physical, that's an entity. That's what I'm using that word in that way. So for
So you
example,
probably need to look it up.
let's
that's
call
a-
it an appearance then.
Well, it doesn't appear. See, that's why the language is not going to work well. Maybe
Yeah,
if
so
you
we,
use that as a sensation instead of as a, trying to use a word, like a feeling
okay, yeah. So I
instead of like
understand
a word.
feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can understand when somebody's next to you and you're not comfortable, right?
Yeah,
And you can understand when someone's in front of you, you're like, hot damn, I want to see her. You know that feeling too, right? These are all
Yeah.
sensations we have, and
Yeah.
they don't have titles. I think it's easier to explain this realm when you don't try to box it in with our language. And I get that we have a difficulty understanding. So sensations or feelings or expression through passion and aliveness maybe are better words. Maybe.
So I think,
I want to say something. When you say that somebody beside you are upset or happy, and you understand even without talking, but the thing to understand the person beside me from the face, from the body movement, from the, even we don't talk, but if I close my eyes and somebody is standing behind me, how can I feel a guy or anybody beside me have a feeling? The eyes say to me, for example, you are happy or no. Without eyes, how can I understand you're happy or upset or whatever?
well, can I answer that? Maybe not answer it, but I'll give you an example of something that happened to me years ago. I was in a bookstore and I was sitting there and I was really intensely reading this book. And there was a woman sitting in a chair in front of me. Her back was to me, okay? And I'm like reading away like this. And all of a sudden she turns around and she said, man, are you intense? Reading, right? She just picked up on the fact that I was so engrossed in that reading. So
Yeah, it's a vibration that comes off. It's a sensitivity, because you know it in yourself from other things. So when you sense it around you, you have a reference. So your subconscious knows what that's like, what that is. So she's relating.
yeah,
I know,
or
but
we have a sense someone's staring at us, right? We've had that.
Yes, I
Everyone's
think
had
people
that.
can do that pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah. So
but this is kind of the, I can call sixth sense.
mhm,
Sometimes when you're walking and in your imagination, you're thinking, I am going to see my friend, my brother. And suddenly when you turn to the street or whatever, or the mall, whatever, you see your brother. Even before that, you don't have any, feeling, but it's happening sometimes. But
yeah.
this
Yeah.
is not rule. This is not rule. Now I am sitting here, I see 5 faces here. If I see you guys by the eyes, I can judge, for example, Dave is happy or Diane is upset or others. If I don't see you, if I don't have any contact with you, with these 5 senses, how can I judge your happiness or sadness?
You can, but someone
Yeah,
else can answer that.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, you just sense it, like, and maybe the power of thoughts, like Diana's been in recently. You think of someone, you can feel it in your body, or someone you know or close to, and then pick up the phone and call, but you usually know if they're too happy or sad. Like, And you can watch me now. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm doing pretty good for me. Since I'm a morning
Yeah, you're doing great. I
She's
can
up
see you
at
yawning.
4
You're
or 5.
excited.
She's a crazy person.
So
Yeah, you're
Say-
holding in there. Thank you.
I am. So, but I'm like, I gotta move so I can stay awake. So,
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah.
but I mean, you just have, I don't know, I think differently.
Yeah.
Lady can probably expand a little more, but
I think it's about how much it actually happens to you because you are trying to open up your other senses. You can stay in your 5. That's what we do. But
Yeah.
if you were to try it, and you're right, your eyes are the window to everything. It's true. But which we did today, when you are not looking and you're not seeing, your other senses come alive because your body needs to survive. And these keys of feeling and sensing, 12 layers outside of yourself, are part of your survival. So Kelly's eyesight is diminished, and she must have incredible senses on other things and go beyond because she needs to survive. The part of you is always going to be survive. And everything your body and your subconscious needs to do to make that happen will enliven or heighten depending on your situation. So you can do it, you just don't practice it. But everyone can do it.
I think
So
you
far-
said the magic word is practice. You can be trained to have these things that don't seem like normal senses. And the example that comes to my mind is the training in the martial arts, or any of these movement generated sports. They say that Wayne Gretzky, for example, could carry the puck into the other net or into the other end zone, and he would be able to pass it without looking because he knew where his teammates were. And in the martial arts, you can do similar things where it seems like a miracle. That I remember doing experiments with peripheral vision where I actually looked away from the opponent and I could defend myself just fine without seeing them.
Yeah.
So I just,
Same idea.
you know, so it can be trained, and if you're not trained, then it's a lot harder to understand it. But once you start training and working at it, it does take quite a bit of work, and at least it took me quite a bit of work. Well, I say that, but I guess there are other times
That it's
I've learned-
easier.
I've learned to feel other people's emotions, and I don't know where I learned that. I don't remember practicing or anything. Something magical happened there.
or it has to do with your past or history. Because the story that came up to me was 5th grade, and I've had ear infections until I was 25 till I got my adenoids out. But I had my tonsils out when I was 5, but my adenoids weren't taking out, and I get ear infections every February. I must have been like maybe probably 8, 9, or 10 or something, and I remember that's going back further, I guess, when my ear finally ruptured and I was laying with my dad and they thought I had tubes in the ears, but I didn't. Then in 5th grade, my ears actually plugged up, and then I'm just stubborn. I had enough chaos in my family that the empathic part probably came through with Cody. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I just knew I didn't want to deal with saying, Mom, I can't hear, to go to the doctor. Eventually it cleared up and I was fine, but for probably 3 or 4 months, I couldn't barely hear. I learned to read people's mouths. I'd watch their expressions. I still got A's in school, and it was just, I remember that vividly. And it's like everything else took over.
Hmm.
And eventually I must have, now with VEMS or whatever, but not saying, somehow I figured out and healed myself in that process, or something happened. But it was, I just like that I just went back to it when you guys were talking about like the site and all this, and some of those stories that people don't even realize that we've lived and overcome and been in.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's about trusting those feelings too. And you say it's just your imagination, well, and you question it, but it's your intuition. It's, this extra sense that you have, and you you can learn to trust it and then not dismiss it and follow through on it. And you'll find that, yeah, this is an extra extra sense that you have about yourself. And it takes, because we're not, you know, brought up in an environment where that's encouraged too often anyway. But if you meet some people who encourage you to trust that, you know, those intuitions, those feelings, and then you start to follow up on it, or you see it unfolding, you said, oh, I had a feeling that was going to happen, and it happens. And then you kind of get used to the territory. There's things, once you start opening up to it, all these it comes with the territory. You start to, you know, pick up on more, and you're willing to accept it, that this is a possibility. Kind of start with that, but then you start to, it starts to, you know, become apparent in your life that this is a part of your existence. You can, you know
The
you're gonna,
experience, yeah, the experiences you have are proving it out.
yeah,
So once you have the experiential understanding, that goes in like your little box of knowing. So now you've got this wisdom sitting here, and you know, because it keeps happening, that that's true for you.
mhm,
And when you have that feeling of that's true for you, and who cares what anyone else thinks, then you start to use it more. And the more you
Yeah.
use that, that opens up, and then more things will start carrying over. Yep.
Mhm.
Experiential is everything.
yeah. And to get back to Cody's, you know, dilemma with the language and definitions, and I think it's difficult to bring these, you know, almost intangible things, but they aren't, into the language, because it doesn't do it justice. It's almost, you know, but if you just get used to talking about it, because it's all the other things around the story and how it's expressed that you start to understand. What does entity mean? Well, you don't have to have this, you know, real definition of what an entity is. I mean, it could be, you know, it could be very much and it probably is. I mean, there is plenty of proof that is part of physics as well. We just don't have, it's just not common, and it's just not, you know, I mean, there are scientists who study this and are able to, you know, make predictions on these so-called non-physical entities, but it's just, they don't have the instruments yet. I think Lady touched on that earlier, that it's, you know, science may not have caught up to it yet.
No, I think the problem with the word entities in its own right is the established word.
Mhm.
Usually it always denotes that there's something not okay. It's like, it's an entity. It's like, it's going to get you. It's like, no. So it's when you use that, it becomes in a physical form. Entities, if you really know what an entity is, it's like smoke. It doesn't form. It only forms from your subconscious, your imagination of what you think it should be, or what you read somewhere, or somebody told you. And that's how you define the words. So I try not to use words so much that our language doesn't match that language. Like if I say, oh, I love you. Like, what did I just say? It's whatever you think love means. It's not what I think love means. It's what you think.
Yeah.
I didn't define it for you. I love you. I love you, Casey. Thank you. But what did I mean? Nobody knows what the other one means. The words that we use are ambiguous, and entity is not. It's got a title, it's got a reason, it's got a thing. So yeah, it's difficult to explain it. Yeah, I think sensations is better, like a sensation, or probably better, but it is vibrating. That's fact.
But it is for,
Actually- Oops.
it's our perception of things, right? Like
Yeah.
how we perceive things. And Cody, I don't know if this helps in any way, but I remember watching an interview with someone, and they said, even if no one watches this video, he said, the information, everything we're talking about is going out into the energy field. Okay. So when I was in Cairo in 2014, I started teaching at a new school. And I knew in my heart, I shouldn't have really gone back to Cairo, but I had my apartment filled with stuff. And I thought, no, I wanted to make some extra money, so I changed schools and I went, okay. So, but there was that nagging thing, like you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing this, right? Nagging. So we're at the school and the principal's up on the stage, we're in the auditorium, right? And the superintendent actually, and he's an American fellow, right? And he's up there and he's saying stuff like, look, if you don't want to be here, no one will think less of you if you leave. Like, this was his message. And I'm thinking, like, what a weird thing for a superintendent to be saying. It's okay. If you don't want to be, right? Like, this was the message. So I turned to a fellow teacher after his talk, right? It was supposed to be an orientation for teachers, right? And I said, that's such a weird thing for him to be talking about how, like, if you don't want to be here, no one will think less of you, blah, 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 and all this. And she said, I didn't hear any of that. And I went, oh, right. And then I had an incident happen in Cairo, which I will not share tonight. But anyway,
Save that one.
Wow, right? So that also reminded me of years ago when I was working for the city of Hamilton. And we were in a meeting, it was like middle managers and all that. And the woman that was taking the minutes, the secretary was there and she's taking minutes, all that, right? And my nemesis was there and he's talking way, blah, blah, blah. And, so she's typing all that. And so later when she sent the minutes out, I went, I don't recall any of that being said in this meeting, right? She's making him seem like he said great grand things and all this sort of stuff. I go, I don't remember him saying any of that. So I wonder how much is us decoding things, right? At a certain level that we're, certain information we hear that other people may not be hearing. I don't know. It's our perception. Anyway.
I think it's
find
happened. I think
sometimes-
that's happened to a lot of people, actually.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I read the same book twice, I get all kinds of different things from it. So I think that's the same phenomenon. There's something, little gaps in the mind.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's hard to take the subconscious and take it to be very conscious all the time. It's a struggle. So
Yeah.
when you're reading something or you're hearing something and you're like, oh God, I don't listen to that. And your mind will then start filling in the gaps for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is this, and you're like, oh yeah, that's you. Pipe in there again. And no one said anything. It's just you don't want to deal with it or talk to them or what.
Yeah, you want to tune
Yeah,
it
your
out or something.
subconscious is pretty damn, your subconscious is very powerful.
Yeah.
Gives me an idea for a book.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't
that's my
forget to mention
trouble.
me.
See, I write books and I have to have a language that people can understand. So I have to really sort out who's my target audience and what do they know and what do they don't know and what do they think vibration is. And that's,
Oh, yeah.
I have to write from that point of view.
Well, I was thinking that I would just have a book with empty pages and their perception could fill in the blanks.
Right.
Just
So
just
far,
write
that seems to be
perception at the
working.
top. Give them a pen, sell the book.
There you
It's good.
go. Yeah.
Oh my God. Sometimes when I'm writing, I'll send out parts of it to people that have no idea what I do. So I send it off. Here, go read it. What do you think? I wrote this story. So they often think it's fiction, but it's not. It's real. And the reason I do that, Cody, is you have to get to a point, and you're not, you're not a child, like I'm not a child. You just have to say, what do you have to offer out that you need to offer out, and screw them who doesn't get it. Because the ones that do get it, they're the ones that buy your book. I don't care about who's not going to get it. I care about the ones that are going to get it, and then it will breed on its own. I can't write based on what this person's going to think about me, or if I have something important to say and you do,
Yeah.
like that whole angel thing with the wing thing, come on, that's an amazing story. Why
Yeah, it
wouldn't
is amazing.
everyone know that? So just don't care.
Yeah.
Basically, just don't care. Just write what you have to write, because we don't know what you have that you need to put out there for people. And the world you came from is the world you came from. It's not, the only world you live in. So if you're vast, be vast.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another word that I wanted to throw in there, but it's just a little too gross. But anyway, it's what
Now
you're
you have
really
to say it.
what you're saying.
Like,
I'll give
what
you
is
the symbol. I'm going to just do a little hand gesture here.
so this.
Oh, double.
Don't even care. Just go, just do it. And the other part
No.
of that whole statement is, we don't have a lot of time. Everyone keeps thinking you've got all this time.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you don't. You
Yeah.
don't. So whatever you need to do, whatever you think you have to do, don't keep waiting to do it, because you're going to keep waiting until you're not here, and it means nothing. Because in vast, all the wisdom you have, it's already there. There's like tons, and you're going to bring more of your experience. We bring our experiences with us, and they come and they enliven the whole realm. But now here, for the people who need it, you have to write what you have to say. There's no time. Okay, I'm done.
Thanks.
I have to write what they have to hear.
You write what you want to say. Forget what they want to hear. Stop writing
That's
for other
true.
people. Write
But
from
there's always-
yourself.
Yeah, there's always an audience, right? But you can't.
Always. And it's
They'll
a
find
surprise. It's a surprise, the audience that shows up. They're
They'll
like,
find you.
really? They absolutely will. Right? Just write what you have to say, not
Yeah.
write what they want to hear.
Yeah.
That never will work.
You see, you're gonna say something?
No, I'm getting tired.
Yeah, yeah. No,
it's
that's
10
fine.
almost
We're
10:30
done.
here.
We're well done. Yeah, I realize that.
For
So,
me,
any other things that people would like to share? We're down to last maybe 10 minutes or so. That's it. Everybody looks
Well,
tired.
when the subject came up about it had to do with our relationships with our family.
Yeah.
Was that not in the preamble? Well, brought to mind a little story I had that was out of the ordinary when I was at my grandmother's 80th birthday party. And my whole family was gathered in the backyard, and my cousin Bill was standing beside me at the buffet, and I was forming a question in my mind, and I was just trying to find the right way to ask him this question. And I finally decided, yeah, that's the way I'm going to ask him. And I was just about to ask him, and he wasn't even looking at me, and he just answered the question, right? And it was a very specific question. And he just says, oh yeah, well, I do this, that, and the other thing. And I just like stood there with my mouth wide open, and I said, Bill, and then he finally looks at me, and he says, yeah, what? I said, I didn't ask you that question. I didn't say it out loud. I just formed it in my mind, and you answered it. And he just goes, oh, cool.
Does anyone else have that happen to them now? It happens, I think, to lots of people, right?
Yes, yeah.
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 But that's how connected we are. We think
Yeah.
we're not, but the wholeness of us is,
Yeah.
when you're in this group, everyone in this group is vibrating at the same level, otherwise you wouldn't come. You wouldn't be here, because you wouldn't be in that state to even accept it. You'd be
Yeah.
doing something else. So the fact that we are all together means that we all have this level that we're working at.
Mhm.
That can change. But when you're that close to somebody, they're thinking, and you're answering, that's all about vibration. It's all about vibratory stance. It's all about that.
Yeah.
So I do that all the time with my best friend and a couple other friends. And then I think what's funny, and ladies heard this, sometimes it's happened more than once. Like I'll be downstairs and I'll be like, in my head, I'll be like, dang, it'd be nice if Storm would do the dishes, or maybe, hey, how Storm, I wonder how she's doing. All of a sudden, she'll come open my door. Mom, did you say something? I said, nope. She's like, yeah, you did. I heard you. I heard you in your head, so that means you can hear me. And she's like, damn it, don't go there.
Get out of my head.
So she's in between, like she accepts it, but she doesn't want to.
Stormy's a cool kid.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Well,
thank-
it's been such a long day for
yes,
me.
I know, for all
Yeah.
of you, and thank
Wow.
you to everyone.
Yeah.
And thank you, Cody, for your questions too, and your
And Lion, it was nice
And
seeing you.
Lion.
Ya
Lion.
Akbar, Ya Akbar, Ya Hayden.
And
Yeah.
thank you, Casey and Lady, because
You,
I know
got it?
you're out east. So
Yeah, okay.
okay, all right,
Yes.
thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good
Bye,
night.
Cody.
Good to
Good
see you
night,
and hear
Cody.
you.
Good night, Lion. Good
Good
night,
night.
Dave.
Good night, lady.
See you, Diane.